Hello, and welcome to the Happy Horror Time podcast. I'm Tim Murdoch.
And I'm Matt Emmerd, and we're here with the actress who played Ellie Grimbridge, one of the stars of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. In this cult classic, which did not happen to feature Michael Myers, she and Tom Atkins took on the head of Silver Shamrock Novelties, who was trying to kill trick-or-treaters using a TV broadcast, a haunting jingle, and microchipped Halloween masks. You know, just your everyday occurrence. Please welcome to the podcast, Stacey Nelkin.
Woo! Hello, Matt and Tim. Thanks for having me on. That was actually an amazing intro.
Wow, thank you.
That was great.
Thanks. We work hard. We work hard on our lovely intros because we are so happy to have guests like you on the podcast.
Yes. Thank you.
But I like your synopsis of the movie. I thought that was awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Diving right in. So, where are you from originally? And growing up, did you always want to be an actress?
Oh, great questions. From New York City, New York, Manhattan.
Nice.
Although I've lived in many other places, including LA for 16 years. And yes, I always wanted to be an actress. Starting from the age of 8, I remember. Yeah.
Wow. You hear so many different answers to if we ask that, you know, it's like people did this and then they happen to go on an audition and stuff. So it's nice that that's something you always wanted to pursue.
Yes, but I would like to share a little story that when I was 8 and I was already loving reading out loud. The teacher would always choose me to read out loud in school and things like that. I was a brownie, which is, you know, a step below a Girl Scout.
Mm-hmm.
So they were doing The Wizard of Oz, and then we were going to perform it for this school for kids that had, you know, severe disabilities. And I, of course, wanted to play Dorothy. And the brownie leader's daughter got to play Dorothy, and I was the Tin Man. So I had very early on a real glimpse about nepotism in showbiz. At 8 years old, I already went, this sucks.
That is such a great story. That's like, but here's the thing. But the Tin Man, you have to do the "If I Only Had a Heart" number, right?
I did. I had a box around me with tinfoil on it. And I just remember it was kind of scary because these kids were really disabled and, you know, misshapen and things. And, you know, at 8, those kind of things are not so, but I kept pursuing it. So
Wow. You learned that lesson, not even getting to LA, like Aaron and Tori Spelling, you knew it right away.
Right away. And I never had a family member who was in the business who could have helped me. So it was all, you know, a lot of blood and sweat and tears, but it happened. So to a certain extent, you know.
So random sidebar, but I read online that you attended New York Stuyvesant High School.
I did.
So crazy connection, but my dad went to Stuyvesant High School, and it's like the #1 public high school in New York, which is amazing. But I know when he attended in the 60s, it was still an all-boys school. Were you one of the first classes of girls? That's amazing.
I was. I think our year was like the 4th or 5th year that women were allowed in the school. Which is, you know, it's so hard to believe that went on for so many years.
No.
That kind of segregation and yeah. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a weird, and he was going there and it always told me it was like this all boys school. And I was like, that sounds, from today's standards, that's so crazy. Like, why would there be a school that, you know, wouldn't let girls in? But yeah, very great high school. So, you know, so before we dive into Halloween 3, we have a ton of questions, but I read on the always trusty IMDb that you were originally cast in Blade Runner, which is like, you know, an incredible sci-fi film, as the 6th replicant, but due to budget cuts, they had to cut that part. Can you tell us about that? What was the storyline supposed to be for your character?
Oh, wow. So the storyline for the character was Mary, who was this other replicant. Now, I think Blade Runner was based on some books, which I never read. But Mary, I met Ridley Scott when I screen tested for the part of Pris that Daryl Hannah did such a great job doing. And it came down to Sean Young and Daryl was the one couple, and me and this woman named Nina Axelrod, big, tall, blonde. And there was me to play the part of Pris. And it was the four of us, and it was going to be either this couple or this couple. And Ridley, rightly so, I guess, didn't think I was big enough to conceivably beat up Harrison Ford. You know, there's that whole scene where Pris does all those somersaults and goes and gets him.
Classic,
so,
yeah.
He remembered me and knew me, and he wanted me to be a part of it. And he said, there's this part, Mary. And it was an amazing part because she was dying. So there was this death scene. One of the scenes was, I think my hand was supposed to go into boiling water, pulling out some eggs. And, you know, because as a replicant, obviously you're impervious to pain.
Yeah.
And hot boiling water. And I did, the makeup and the hair and the wardrobe and all of that stuff. And I was on the set. Because, they did it big time for that movie. It was all, big budget. And of course, they went over budget. And then I got a call because, I don't know, was the actor's strike or the writer's strike? There was some strike that was happening. Was it the actor's strike?
I want to say writers, but it could be actors.
one of the two.
It was one or the other. And then Michael Dealey, the producer, called me and said, look, darling, we've gone way over budget and we haven't even gotten to your part yet, so I'm afraid we're going to have to write you out. So I never got to do it. But they were nice enough to include me when they had the 25th anniversary. And they made the, what do you call those DVDs that are special with all the interviews at the end?
Like
Blu-ray.
The Blu-ray. Yeah.
That's it, Blu-ray. So they included me in that, which was very nice. It would have been nicer to be included in the movie, because between that and Annie Hall, these two huge films that I had pivotal roles in, had I not been cut out, would have been a nice thing for my career.
No,
whatever.
It's so crazy. And there's probably so many more stories like that, from different actors or actresses, and how like one tiny change or one tiny opinion that changed a casting decision changed everything. But here's the thing. If you had been in Blade Runner, we may not have gotten you in Halloween 3.
This is true.
We as major horror and Halloween franchise fans are very thankful.
Yeah.
So moving, I guess, right into Halloween 3.
How did you first hear about Halloween 3, and what was your audition process like for Ellie?
Okay, so I first heard about it from Ron Walters, who was a makeup artist, incredibly talented makeup artist, who won a few Emmy Awards. I had worked with him when I was cast in The Last Convertible. And Ron put up that Perry King and I fell madly in love. He left his wife. We were together. Perry left his apartment, his house, where his wife and daughter stayed, and he had to go somewhere, and he wound up staying at Ron's place. And Ron was already hired on to do Halloween 3. And so whenever I'd see Perry, which was quite a lot, we'd go over and Ron would be there, and he's like, Stacey, they're trying to cast this part and you'd be great for it. And I'm like, I don't want to do a horror movie. He said, it'd be a fun part for you. So time went on, and then finally he said, just read the script. So I called my agent, and they sent a copy of the script, and I loved the character of Ellie. I loved her. And I said, I could play this. And they got me a reading. And now at this point, they hadn't found anybody, and they were days away from shooting. Days.
Wow.
So I went in, met Deborah Hill, read for her and Tommy Lee, And I came home, and literally as I'm walking in the door from the audition, the phone was ringing. This is before cell phones. And they said, you got the part, and you gotta get into makeup and, and do the Don Post and all that tomorrow. And you're going up to, Eureka in a few days. I was like, okay.
Wow.
It all happened very quickly. Very, very quickly.
That is amazing. Did you, and random question though with you, did you remember what scene they had you audition with?
Oh, what a great question. And I don't remember.
Totally fine.
That's okay because
it wasn't even one of the questions we had written down. I just was thinking because you probably nailed it so well that they called you immediately, and I'm just like, I wonder what scene it was.
But you're actually in very good company.
They were desperate, guys. They were
no, not at all.
No, but a lot of the people that we interviewed, they never remember their audition scene. So you're in very good company.
Oh, good. Okay, I think it was one at the hospital. Is what I think, and it might have been the bar scene too.
Yes,
The bar scene, I'm pretty sure that was one of them, but there were two scenes. Yeah, but anyway.
Yes, when Tom Atkins is drinking on the job.
Wait,
good old.
He's
80s.
a doctor, right?
Yes.
Okay,
so much politically incorrect moments in that movie, right?
That's why I love it.
Oh, we have a ton of questions about that. But before we even jump into that, had you, and I think I know the answer to this because I think I read it, but I'm still going to ask you, had you seen Halloween 1 or 2 before auditioning? And was your first thought, where's Michael Myers?
Okay, really good question. And I had not seen either one of them because as a young girl, when I went to see The Exorcist, in the movie theater, on huge screen. And they were lining up around the block, and I had to sneak in with older friends because I was, underage, and I don't even remember the rating then. I was so traumatized from seeing that movie. I literally couldn't sleep for 3 weeks because I had nightmares every night. So I really pretty much stayed away from horror movies. Wow. So Halloween 1, no way. Now, when this came up, I got to see it because this is before DVDs, but I saw it and I thought Jamie Lee did a great job, and it scared the crap out of me. And I and then I also saw Halloween 2. Mm-hmm. That also scared the crap out of me. And what I liked about Halloween 3 was there was not the semi-gratuitous, topless girls that all of these, horror movies had at that time, right? That was de rigueur to have, girls showing their boobs and, in their little underwear, just happened to be naked, whatever. So that, but also the blood and gore and that kind of fear that I think a lot of us women have of, some guy is going to come, and get you. It scared the shit out of me. So I was happy that Halloween 3 did not have that there was a real character, and it was more sci-fi to me. It was a little more Invasion of the Body Snatchers, a little 100%. More.
Was that your first impression of the script? Because there's like dark elements and ancient witchcraft and killer robots and sacrificing children wearing masks.
Yeah, because that's the funny thing. It's like it's not a slasher, but there's so many elements to it. What did you think when you first read it?
In all honesty, when I read it, I really, and I think most actors and actresses would agree, we focus on our scenes and what our character is about. So the other stuff, I kind of glanced over it and went, okay, well, let them deal with that. I don't very often imagine the whole movie. Yeah. What's this going to be like? Because so much of that's left to the director anyway. But really the focus is on my character. And does it make sense? Where does she fit in? That kind of thing.
I know. I think that's a really cool way of looking at things because as viewers of the movie, we only see the final finished product, so we are engrossed in the story. We can't even imagine that like everyone involved wouldn't be as engrossed. But yeah, like obviously you're playing a part, you're looking at where that part fits in, and you may not be concentrating as much on the whole story like we are as viewers.
Exactly. Just as I imagine the makeup artist is reading it, looking for, oh, well, makeup here and this needs that, or the wardrobe person looking at it from their point of view, or the lighting guys, everybody sees, we see what we need to see, I think.
And so although Halloween 3 didn't continue, obviously, the Michael Myers, Laurie Strode storyline, most of the people that were behind the first two films, and many others actually, were involved in this sequel, like John Carpenter, Deborah Hill, Tommy Lee Wallace. When you went to work on the film, did it almost feel like coming to work with like an existing family? I mean, could you tell that all the people behind this knew each other so well and had worked together in the past?
No, I really didn't. I really didn't. And that's another great question, because I wonder if I'd known that, if I would have felt maybe more intimidated. They were so welcoming, and I honestly did not know that.
Oh,
So that was probably a good thing that I'm unaware of who was already a little clique or whatever. Yeah.
no, that's
But
true.
I think when you come in as one of the leads in the film, they're always going to treat you great anyway, and they're never going to, we get so spoiled. We're so frigging spoiled, actors and actresses. Seriously.
Yeah.
If you're, guest starring or starring in something, you get treated like a princess or a prince, honestly, you do.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
I love it.
I was going to say, sounds good.
Were John Carpenter and Deborah Hill on the set a lot?
Deborah Hill was on the set a lot. John Carpenter, I think maybe once or twice, but Deborah was, and she was wonderful. She was funny and smart and sassy. She was great. She was great. I
Yeah.
like working with women. She was terrific.
We've heard nothing but amazing stuff about Deborah Hill.
Yeah.
Tragic.
It is, I know, it is so, yeah. R.I.P. It's so sad, and but all we've heard is amazing stuff about her. And I know Tommy Lee Wallace. What I had heard is, although he had worked on other films with John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, I think Halloween 3 was his directorial debut. And we're just wondering, what was his directing style like? Any memorable moments working with Tommy Lee Wallace?
Well, memorable moments were mornings of the day we were going to shoot a big scene, and sitting in his hotel room with him and Tom and going over, and he was so open to any changes in the lines. Does this make sense? Maybe we should say this. He's a musician by his guts, his instincts. That's where he really comes from. And he treated it that way. He liked to collaborate like a great jazz musician, would. You collaborate, and you pick up from this one, you pick up from that one. So he was very easygoing that way. Much more than a lot of other directors I've worked with. He really was. And I think that's because of his background as a musician, honestly. He's just kind of a very cool, chill, mellow guy, and he wanted it to work. So he had no ego, whereas sometimes other directors have that.
And we actually heard that because we interviewed one of the stars of the 1990 Stephen King's It that he directed after Halloween 3. Said the same thing. Working with him he was just so chill and easygoing, and I'm sure that makes it a lot easier coming onto set.
And working with children.
Yeah, well, and then when the director is like that, of course, we also have to ask about Tom Atkins, who plays Dr. Daniel Chalice in the film. So obviously, he's gone on to become quite the scream king, starring in movies like The Fog, Creepshow, Night of the Creeps. So what was Tom Atkins like during filming? Because you guys hunt down Silver Shamrock together. You have a love scene together. What was he like to work with?
He was so sweet and gentlemanly and not intimidating. He was a terrific guy. He made me feel so comfortable because he did know a lot of these people from before. I think he knew certainly John Carpenter, and I feel so grateful because from all these conventions over the last 20 5 years, whatever, I get to see him and I get to know him even better. I think our first scene together was, of course, the sex scene, the love scene.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like, hello, how are you?
Yeah. Wow.
Let's jump in bed. And it was a very cold morning, as mornings in Northern California are. And it was, like 5 a.m. And in those days, they didn't have the body spray, to make up your naked body. They had sponge, cold water, and they would have to get every square inch of you. So it was a very long process, and I'm shivering, freezing cold. And I, had literally just met Tom, and he was so sweet, and he was such a gentleman, and he made me feel very comfortable, And of course, I was with Creative Artists Agency at the time, and I had a no nipple clause, so which because I really wasn't into doing nudity, and certainly not for, if I was going to do it, maybe for Bertolucci or something. I wasn't going to do it for some horror film that, who knew it would become what it became.
Yeah.
But so it made this shooting, I have to say, a lot more complicated, because, you could kiss her 2 inches here, but then you can't, and they'd have to readjust the camera, and just not to show.
So wait, so a no nipple clause, that mean, are they?
It's like in your contract.
Well, does that mean you can show any part of the breast but the nipple?
Not the nipple.
I love that. Wow.
It's in my contract too.
Yeah, Tim's contract says no
Yes.
nipples.
Oh,
definitely.
okay. Very sensitive, are you, Tim?
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
No,
yes.
that makes it, that's nice, but it makes it more comfortable. And you know what I will have to say? I have to say, Tom Atkins shows his butt in the movie, so at least there was some equal opportunity nudity in a way. I feel like Tom Atkins is the type that'd be like, let's do full frontal. Who cares?
Yeah, I'm sure he was like, this, like, whatever.
He just seems game for anything. But no, but I can imagine. I can't imagine. But the first scene being the love scene could be a little intimidating. And had you known about Tom Atkins' career before that, or that he had a relationship with John Carpenter?
We had a friend. Well, not a friend. We had wives and husbands. No. Wait, future husband. I wasn't with Barry Bostwick then, but Tom was married to Garn Stevens, who was in Grease on Broadway along with Barry Bostwick. So it was, years later, after I was already divorced from Barry and all these conventions started happening, that we figured this one out. But so no, I didn't know anything about his career, or anything really.
But that's probably better.
Yeah.
That's probably better. As just like you were saying, with not knowing like the connection of all the people working on the film, because I could imagine that could be intimidating. It's almost like you're jumping into an existing group, so I can understand that. So plot wise, what ends up happening to Ellie, your character, is pretty shocking, because she's kidnapped by the Silver Shamrock robots and then turned into a robot herself. But there's something that I want you to clear up for us that we've been wondering. So Ellie wasn't a robot the entire time, right? And I only asked that because I always figured she was killed after being kidnapped by the robots, and then Mr. Cochran created a robot in her image. But then again, that would mean that he created a totally new robot in like a matter of hours, right? So how was that explained to you as to what actually happened to the human Ellie?
Well, nothing was explained. And at these conventions, I do get asked that question. A lot of people will come up and say, wasn't Ellie a robot the whole time? And I say, no, I don't think so. It never even occurred to me, because she showed human emotion and all of that. And I think they purposely showed that scene where Ellie is tied up and on the gurney or whatever. And they do obviously do something. It never even occurred to me that they actually killed the human Ellie. Maybe I don't want to think about dying or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But they turned her into a robot at that moment, because the next time we see her, then she is very different, and she is a robot.
No,
So something happened in that time frame.
Yeah, you're totally right, because it doesn't necessarily mean that she's dead, that you just never see the human Ellie again. But again, it's like I've heard different, people who thought, oh, she was a robot the entire time, which would be, I agree with you. Like and also that would be kind of a letdown if you thought that she was just a robot. But I will say it's remarkable how quickly they created that robot of her, because
They're fast. They're fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and he was kind of a master of that, Dr. Cochran, right? He was good.
I was going to ask you, so what was it like playing the robot version of Ellie? And when you got your head knocked off, how did you guys film that?
Oh, so how did I play it? Just, I don't know. You just kind of get in the zone. And what would I be like? I don't know. So I just did it. You just kind of channel these things, like when I played a blind girl on the A-Team. You just kind of go into that zone of being blind. You go into the zone of being a robot, whatever that might be. But that was so cool how they did that, because as Tommy Lee likes to say at some of these conventions, they ask questions about that. And in those days, this is before green screen and all of those digital things like you guys have there. And they had to have a lot more. You had to be really creative, and so what they did was they, obviously at the Don Post thing, they made a plaster molding of my head and of my arm, and I had this body double who, for weeks, I'm wearing the outfit where we're running away, the sweater and the jeans and the neck thing, and she was exactly my size. They built this platform that a human body could fit through. So it was like, but like this, and it was covered on the top with grass and dirt. And then there was a hole that my body double was lying like 3 feet away from me with her head down the hole. And I'm a few feet away under the platform with my head like a little whack-a-mole sticking up, with the robot kind of makeup on, and I'm looking over 3 feet away, seeing my body over there, and her body was at least from behind me, the same clothes that I've been looking at, for the last 3 weeks, same body size, and it was freaky. But that's how they did it, with an incredible amount of creativity. And they would never do that today. They would just, kind of digitize the whole thing, which is such a kind of cheating.
Was that inside a studio or were you guys outside?
I'm sorry. Oh, this was all in a studio.
Oh, wow.
It was in a studio so that they could have the platform, and, it's much more controlled when you're inside a studio.
How about even with the robot arm? Was that you, and like they had covered that? Because I know that I can see that's how they did when your head was there. But remember when it's just you and you have the robot arm, or was there something attached to you for that?
Are you talking about when my arm has already been cut off and it's spurting out stuff?
Yeah.
I think they had my arm. That's a really good question. I can't remember how they did that, because they did, a fake thing, a replication of my arm.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if in that one shot my arm was through the sweater and you couldn't see it or something. I can't remember how they did that.
So basically, they could have just taken that footage and put it in Blade Runner and be like, "See, we have the character."
There you go. You tell them that.
Yeah, exactly. But another question about with the robot: what is the gross yellow stuff that comes out of your mouth and every other robot's? Because there's a part where it comes out of your mouth. What was that?
It was not pea soup, a la Exorcist. What was it? I can't. It was like some kind of yellowish. It didn't taste bad. I can't remember what it was. It was just it did look pretty disgusting, like bile.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I mean, that I promise you was, I can't remember that. We'd have to ask the special effects guys, not special effects. That would have been like props or, I don't know, it was some kind of liquid that was thick and sweet, kind of, that just.
I'm wondering. Yeah, it looks incredibly gross,
Yeah.
and I was thinking
job.
that I know. Good job.
And it was the same stuff that came out of my arm.
Yeah.
And we'd have to ask Tommy Lee what that was. He could tell us.
So overall, were you satisfied with where they took your character, or do you wish like they had done more with the human Ellie, or had her survive until the end with Dr. Chalice, or did you like how they had or what they did with the robot?
Like the twist.
Yeah.
I like the twist. I actually like the twist a lot. Because, if Ellie had, I don't know, finished up and there was a happy ending with her and Dr. Chalice, that would be so corny, and so unreal. So, I like those things where there's a change and it's unexpected. Especially as an actress, it's much more fun to not survive and go into a different direction,
Yeah, no, definitely. And, so a bit of trivia for our listeners, I'm sure, obviously, you know this, Stacey, but so Jamie Lee Curtis provided the voice for the operator that Tom Atkins keeps getting on the phone throughout the movie. And I was just wondering, did you know that Jamie Lee Curtis was doing this voiceover at the time? Did you ever get to meet her on set, or was that done completely separate?
That was done completely separately. I knew Jamie Lee before I was cast in the movie from dance class, just from hanging out. And, we used to take a dance class with Joe Tremaine in the Valley together. And so I knew her that way. And yeah, no.
Did you, when you got the part, did you say, "Hey, girl, I'm in one of the Halloween movies"?
Later, I think she came to the set one day and we're like, "Oh, hey," it was that kind of thing.
That's cool.
That is cool.
And what was the red carpet premiere like? Your first time seeing it? What were your thoughts?
Did they have a red carpet premiere?
No, there was, it kind of came and went, as a lot of the films I did. This one probably even faster. I don't know that it played in the theater for more than a few days. Did it? I don't think so. Maybe a week.
Wow.
I mean, I remember the ads. It scared me, like the images of the masks and the spider.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well,
I was too young. I don't know what Tim's talking about.
I'm a little older than Matt.
Me too. I was too.
Well, so look, even though at the time Halloween 3 wasn't a commercial success, it's developed such a cult following, as over the years. I mean, to be completely honest, and I'm not just saying this because you're on our podcast, I know people who this film is the only one in the franchise that they like. Honestly,
I like
you're like, woo, Halloween. But I do have a question for you, because I've heard other people talk about this, and I'm wondering your thoughts on this. Do you think that if it didn't have Halloween in the title, that if it was just not affiliated with the Halloween series and just its standalone horror movie, that it may have been more successful? Do you think people were maybe just more upset that Michael Myers wasn't in it, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the name Halloween actually helped it.
Oh,
I
okay.
really do, because 1 and 2 were already pretty well received, so I think it helped it. But then I think the people that expected and wanted Mike Myers were disappointed. And I think Universal went, "Oh, this was a bad idea." And that was why they went back. The original idea was, I'm sure you've heard this, is there was supposed to be a series every Halloween of a different Halloween story, which could be great. I mean, it's a fun, I think most of our favorite, holiday. And
Yeah.
so many stories you could do, right? Adults, kids, all of it. There could have been a ton of it. I think they kind of rode a little bit on the coattails of Halloween 1 and 2. And I don't think that was bad. I don't think that was a bad thing, because it might have just been another, I don't know, another film. Horror films were not at that time quite yet the thing. That happened a little later, So I think in a certain way it actually helped it more than it hindered it, you know.
No, that's an interesting point because everybody talks about, oh, it's the film without Michael Myers and stuff, but also it has the equity of the name in it
Yes,
too.
it really did. And I think it helped it a lot. Kind of like back to my story of, the brownies, the nepotism, having that famous name right behind you, Halloween
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
It
exactly.
helped. I think it did help it.
And do you still keep in touch with any of the cast or crew, Tom Atkins or Tommy Lee? Or
Yeah, well, Tom Atkins and I stay in touch, and I get to see him. It's so nice at these conventions, and yeah, and Tommy Lee, I get to see at some of these, and Dean Cundy and Dick Warlock goes to a lot of them. The stunt coordinator, and
yeah.
yeah, so it's been amazing. It feels almost like the gift that keeps giving, because honestly, we never in a million years expected that it would become this cult classic that people love and want to see and want to hear from us. It blows my mind, and it's been an incredible gift, truly. I wouldn't be talking to you guys.
No, we really love, as fans, we love hearing that because it's a gift to us, really. I mean, like, we love these films, and it means so much to fans like us when the people who made them are, just embrace them just as much, like to talk about them, enjoy these kind of conventions. I'm wondering, because you said you've gone to the conventions, do you chat with any of the stars from the other Halloween films, or is it like the Halloween 3 cast, like the outsiders?
And I have to ask, did you see any of the films after Halloween 3?
No.
That is hilarious.
You mean like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up
Exactly,
to
yeah.
wherever they're at? No.
I love
Don't
it.
will I? I'm sorry to say. No. I really don't like to get scared. I like rom-coms. I do.
Well,
I like to laugh. And what's that?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I will say this. You'll be happy to know that in the 2018 Halloween that Jamie Lee Curtis just did, and the one coming out this year, Halloween Kills, David Gordon Green, the director, he loved the series so much that he has the masks from Halloween 3 in it. So you see trick-or-treaters wearing the 3 masks, and they're in a prominent part in the trailer for Halloween Kills. So he's doing little like nods to your movie in this new one, which is really cool.
That's good. Nice. Good. Good. That's good he does that.
Do you chat? Yeah, the other question was, do you see people from the other movies? Do you guys chat, or is it too different?
Well, at the conventions, sometimes you get to see them, but they're either across the room or, and there's so little free time to go bopping around. I try to, if I have time. And sometimes I have too much time if if nobody's at my thing, my booth. But so I like to go and talk, and I've met some really interesting people. And like Diane Franklin, who I used to audition with, and people like that. I get to see at these conventions, like, oh my God, you did this, and people I haven't seen in 30 years, and so that it's really fun. So all of you people who are these amazing horror fans, who knew? And I love going to the conventions and getting to rap with everybody, because I think horror fans are very interesting people. Seriously. No, really, I really mean that. I really mean that. It's like a little, club of people. It's very cool.
And they're very loyal and committed. And I'm not just saying that because we are horror fans,
we'll
but
follow
as you
your
can,
careers wherever you take us.
But there's like a true passion behind horror fans, because I think it's easy to think when you're not involved in horror like you are, or a fan, that, oh, people who like horror movies, they must be like weirdos or freaks. But really, it's just people who love this certain type of film or being scared and are just truly into it. And obviously you've seen this at the conventions, but we're not all weird, freaky people.
I mean, do I listen to your soundtrack every night? Yes.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of soundtracks, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the jingle. Obviously, was that something they added later, or did you have to like sit through hearing that jingle all the time while working on the film?
Now, doing these conventions, I do get to hear it a lot, but when they do screenings of it and all that, I think Tommy Lee was just formulating it at that time. So that was never part of the movie. They always add that stuff after the fact. But, that was basically London Bridge.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I guess London Bridge has to be so old that I guess it has to be so old that like there's no meaning. I guess we'd have to ask Tommy Lee Wallace if you had to pay to get the rights, but that has to be just
Wonder. Yeah, right. I don't think so. It might have been something like the Happy Birthday song. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. But he did his own little twist with it.
Exactly.
So the soundtrack really is amazing, right?
I love the opening credits. I think it's an amazing score.
Yep. He did an amazing job with that.
It's so haunting, but yes, obviously the soundtrack, or the score, John Carpenter and Alan Howarth, and it's just crazy. These films. I mean, John Carpenter's still doing the score for the new movie, which comes out this year. It's just crazy how these have lasted for so long. One of the final questions for you wanted to ask, what we've read a lot about what you're up to now. Like I had read about that being a relationship expert and having your own YouTube channel, and then along with being a substance abuse counselor in New York. Do I have that correct, or what have you been up to lately?
Yeah, I'm a substance abuse counselor. Now in Massachusetts, because that's where I'm living, and since before COVID, moved to Massachusetts, the Berkshires, and I am working as a substance abuse counselor, and I find it incredibly rewarding.
Yeah,
and and it's there's a big epidemic out there, so it's needed and it's important to help people, I think, and it makes me feel good,
That's
and
great.
it's nice because I'm anonymous. None of my, some of the women I work at a place called the Keenan House for Women, and one of them found out, like, did I hear you were in a horror film?
You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. 8 more days till Hollow.
Right. Yeah, I like to be able to just help and be of service. And if, people look at you a certain way, you can't do what you want to do. If they're thinking, oh, she's this actress, no, I don't. It's not about that.
You don't walk into the room and go, "Season of the Witch."
Right. I think I'm going to have to do that and take that T-shirt you're wearing.
Right. It is. It's a great T-shirt. Crazy question, but if for some reason the stars align and they wanted to do a sequel to Season of the Witch, would you be up for reprising Ellie if we found out that she was still alive and everything was fine?
Or even play it as a robot?
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. I'm down. I'm ready.
We love to hear that, because as fans, there's a lot of things, and I know like you were saying, I had heard and I've heard in different interviews that they wanted to make this anthology, and then people were so upset that Michael Myers wasn't. They didn't keep doing that, but hey, I mean, like Halloween 3 had such a unique plot that I've just never seen before. That it was very interesting. I think that's why it has become such a cult classic.
I also want to say this: if you ever get a chance to see Halloween 3 on the big screen with a full audience, which is, I think, the best way to see it, because there's such a reaction to Tom Atkins drinking in the middle of the day, doing a shot. Like, it's just like you said right from the start. Like, it was a different time.
I have gotten to do that.
It's the best.
Yeah, and so the gasping aloud from the audience at some of those moments. How about when he hits the nurse's butt? He smacks her.
God.
Not today.
Not today. Oh, first thing I know, I mean, people watching today, it's crazy. And I know, it's totally, but at least she hits his butt back. She's kind of like, I like that nurse, because she's like, you're not going to do this.
but I think that's what makes it so real. He was such kind of a loser character. He was a terrible dad. He was a shitty husband.
Yeah.
He's sleeping with somebody he barely knows, and he's it's like so wrong, all of it, and yet so great. and so
No,
real and so human.
Yeah, no, totally. It is. He's totally like an anti-hero in a
Yeah.
way, I guess, because you're right. He's not the most likable character, but at the same time, it's like you want to root for your character, Ellie, and his. And then when you're a robot, then it's like, okay, well, who do we have left?
Him. Right.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Oh my God. I know exactly. So we have one final question. We ask this to everybody that we interview. And what is one thing you can tell us about your experience working on Halloween 3 that you've never told any other interviewer, podcaster, publication, convention, anything? One thing. It can be the tiniest thing, and you can have a second to think, but it can be like something that happened behind the scenes, maybe an Easter egg, anything, as long as you've never mentioned it in another interview.
Okay. True confessions. So there was a prop guy named John Blue or Bolu who I had a big crush on. Until I found out he had a gun. He was like a gun owner, and then I was But anyway, yeah. I usually went for like the director or the producer or the actor, and there was something about him. I couldn't tell you what, but I remember that. So,
well, we have a special guest for you,
He's
John
here!
Blue.
Yay,
Come
come
out. That's good. No, that's
a good one.
That is a good one. We love hearing about these
Yeah.
things. We've heard so many crazy things from people because we love to hear things that people haven't, we try to ask questions people haven't been asked maybe before, and that is very interesting. I
Yeah.
wonder what happened to that prop person.
So he's a handsome guy with a gun collection.
who knows? Who knows?
Well, it has been such a pleasure chatting with you. Really,
Yes.
we are such big fans. We love the film, we love the series, and we were so touched that you were willing to do this interview with us. So, just want to thank you very much. So,
You guys are great. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, guys.
Yes,
Stay healthy. Be well.
yes,
too.
thank you. Take care. Enjoy your evening.
And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Happy Horror Time. This podcast is hosted by Matt Emmer and myself, Tim Murdoch. It's co-produced by Jacob Randall, who also hosts a great true crime podcast, Crime of Your Life.
Please check out our website, happyhorrortime.com, where you can stream all of our episodes and see all our pretty little episode images. You can also follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Happy Horror Time.
We love hearing from our listeners, so if you want to contact us about one of our recent episodes, send us an email at happyhorrortime@gmail.com.
If you'd like to support this podcast, please sign up to be a patron at patreon.com/happyhorrortime. Patrons get access to our growing library of bonus episodes where we discuss older horror films, look back at popular franchises, and all kinds of other fun horror stuff.
I'm Tim Murdoch.
And I'm Matt Emmert, and we hope you have a happy horror time.